Prof. Daniel Mashau, Executive Dean, Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment. Prof. Johan Meyer, the most important man of the evening, our inductee. Prof. Andre Nel, Professor in Mechanical Engineering Science at the University of Johannesburg, who will be the respondent. Everybody who is here, members of Senate, other academics, distinguished guests, and all who also are joining us online. Good evening, Sanbonani, Goeienaand, Tobela. It is indeed a great honor and special privilege for me to welcome you to the Professorial Inaugural Lecture of Prof. Johan Meyer. As I do so, I wish to express a warm welcome to his loved ones, special guests, and colleagues. This is indeed a proud and joyful and landmark moment for all of us, and also particularly, of course, for Professor Meyer. It is important here at UJ, it is important for higher education in general, in South Africa and beyond. The inauguration of professors is a public ceremony in which newly appointed professors are inducted into office and deliver their inaugural address. The ceremony has its roots in the medieval university and serves multiple purposes. First, it is an expression of welcome and an entry for new professors joining the circle of colleagues who are already professors. Secondly, it provides a platform for professors to display their expertise in the discipline and showcase their research. Professors profess. Tonight we are going to hear Prof. Johan professing. In the colonial traditions, subscribed to by many universities, assuming the role of the professor refers to the gown and the cap. Once we have listened to the inaugural address, the gown, denoting the professorship, will formally be assumed. Today we gather to witness Prof. Meyer's entry into the illustrious community of senior scholars at our university. It celebrates his contribution to the discipline and ultimately his impact on society. Professors provide the university with its identity, character, academic legitimacy, and integrity. This evening, we will listen to Prof. Meyer as the gown goes figuratively to town. So what do we mean when we say this? We mean that the power of the inaugural address is when the expertise is showcased beyond the corners and corridors of the university and reverberates in society. It stands out as a moment of pride for the incumbent, the family, fellow scholars, the university, and ultimately society. In the past, several philosophers and scholars have defined universities using very narrow conceptualizations. For example, the search for truth, the search for universal knowledge, and even sometimes as instruments serving the purpose of the economy or being utilitarian in nature. Through our work and research at UJ, we break out of these narrow conceptualizations and reflect on the university as contributing to the public good, working towards societal impact. So what is the role then of an intellectual, of an academic, of a professor? Edward Said, in one of his articles, defines the role of the intellectual as one who commands a vast knowledge of significance of a specific discipline, and this is when you become a professor, one who is rigorous in the analysis of the literature in a field, one who views being an intellectual as a vocation, and one who functions as a kind of public memory to recall what is forgotten or ignored, to make the connectedness that are otherwise hidden, and to provide alternatives for mistaken policies. So these are aspects that good academics adhere to. This evening, we will listen to Professor Johan Meyer as one further step in the journey of being a professor. This is a journey which does not conclude once this lecture has been given. Notwithstanding, this inaugural lecture does create an opportunity for a self-reflective pause in the journey of the professor. I'm now inviting the Executive Dean, Professor Daniel Mashau, to introduce Professor Johan Meyer. Prof. Daniel.
Good evening. It's my pleasure this evening to reintroduce to you Professor Johan Meyer. I didn't want to say introduce to you because some of you might tell me we know him much more than me. Johan Meyer was born in 1966. He completed his schooling in Kempton Park. His engineering qualification was started in 1984 as a first-year electrical and electronic undergraduate engineering student at the Randse Afrikaans Universiteit, where he completed his doctorate in electrical engineering. He entered employment at the Advanced Technologies and Engineering Company in 1992 as an integration engineer, followed by an appointment as a systems engineer, and finally as a systems engineering manager. His academic career started in 2004 when he joined the University of Johannesburg, right at the beginning, as an associate professor. His lecturing included modules such as electronics, optical systems, and system engineering and design. He served in various roles as a department head of the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, as well as a head of school for electrical engineering. Here at UJ, we have two kinds of electrical engineering. We have electrical engineering science and electrical engineering technology, and the two departments form the School of Electrical Engineering. So he served as a head of that school. He served as a chairman and a member of several department and faculty committees. Professor Meyer is registered with the Engineering Council of South Africa, popularly known as EXA, as a professional engineer. He's a senior member of the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers, a senior member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, and a fellow of the South African Academy of Engineers. To date, he has successfully supervised more than 20 research master's students, 10 minor dissertation students, and 10 PhD students, and more than 50 undergraduate final year project students. He served as an external examiner for several universities in South Africa and also on the continent in Africa. Noteworthy rewards include the Steel and Engineering Industries Federation of South Africa, awards for excellence, the French-South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry winner for the Best Business Collaboration France-South Africa with Schneider South Africa, and the University of Johannesburg, and recently one of the top 3 in the Gauteng Premier's Office Disability Awards. You will learn more about it probably from his presentation on UJAGI. His research interests span optical systems, systems engineering, and engineering education. In these domains, he has published over 80 peer-reviewed conference publications, 21 accredited journal publications, 2 book chapters, and 2 books. His Google Scholar H-index is 10, with 544 citations. We are here this evening to be introduced to hear from the giant himself, Professor Johan Meyer.
VC functionary, Prof. Gravett, Dean, Faculty of Engineering in the Built Environment, Prof. Mashao, some of my colleagues, Andre Nel, Professor, friends, family. Good evening. So tonight I would like to take you through a journey highlighting the role of projects as social technical systems in engineering education. The approach I'll be following is based on the 6 bricks principle. 6 bricks is a learning system developed in South Africa by the Care for Education Foundation. The 6 bricks concept is based on the Lego Duplo 2x4 studded brick set. There are some of them around the venue. Please don't throw me with those. So the question is, how many different ways can these 6 bricks be assembled together? The answer is 915,103,765 ways. What is also significant is that when these 6 bricks are placed end to end at an arm's length, they are just bigger than our field of vision. The point is, the total picture cannot be seen in a single glance. So why is this relevant tonight for us here? I would like to take you on a journey of where I present the pillars of engineering education as I see it. These pillars being an education, which consists of a primary to a tertiary postgraduate engineering qualification. Experience is what remains after engaging with social technical systems. Mentorship, which guidance for and from those that goes next to us and behind us. Scholarship, which is a lifelong learning. Practice, the doing of engineering as part of an engineering education. And support. Someone once said that anything you can do by yourself is probably not worth doing. So there are 915,103,765 ways to assemble these 6 bricks. Tonight I will show you how I have assembled one of these combinations as engineering projects in engineering education. So engineering education brick started for me when I graduated with a degree in electrical engineering from the Rand Afrikaans University in 1988. This picture of my graduation is hanging on the wall of the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering Science. This is not the only picture of me in the wall of the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering Science. There's 19 others, spanning the years from 2005 with the inception of UJA as university till today, showing me as a staff member amongst my fellow students in the department. So no respectable engineering presentation is without block diagrams and mathematics. And this is the Kalman filter equation, which is a very important equation in electrical engineering, statistical signal processing, and is best not named in Afrikaans. So now that is out of the way, I can continue with my presentation. So one of the most important bricks of an engineering education is one where knowledge is created through the transformation of an experience. Real-world engineering projects, in my opinion, is an enabler for this transformation process to take place. And that is the focus of this evening's talk. The work presented here tonight is based on the research work in engineering education conducted here in the department at University of Johannesburg. I authored a book with my co-authors, Prof. Zach Simpson and Prof. Sine van Solms, which highlighted the importance of using projects as social technical systems in an engineering education. These projects aim to provide students the opportunity to develop and implement engineering solutions for real-world problems. Problems take the classroom into the real world. Socio-technical problems have the benefit of exposing our students not only to the cold world of engineering, but also the warm, chaotic world of human beings. Real-world problems are solved with real-world solutions amongst real-world societies, leaving an impact on society and inevitably the environment. So my exposure to real-world engineering started when I entered employment in a company called Advanced Technologies and Engineering in 1992. I started as an integration engineer on the Mirage F1 aircraft upgrade project for the South African Air Force, when after I became a systems engineer on the F1 Spanish upgrade project for the Spanish Air Force, and was later appointed as systems engineering manager for the Hawk Leading Fighter Trainer program for the South African Air Force. So the defining moment in my career came while I was working at the Advanced Technologies Engineering Company as the systems engineering manager on a project to design, build, and test the navigation and weapons system for the Hawk Leading Fighter Trainer aircraft of the South African Air Force. The project was completed by a consortium of companies, including British Aerospace, and our company as the lead systems engineering house for the project. At that moment, I was leading a team of systems engineers, flight test engineers, ground test engineers, with a pilot sitting in an aircraft traveling at over 250 meters per second. I was a conductor of an orchestra, making beautiful engineering music from the technological instruments producing notes of engineering and science. This experience was so fulfilling and addictive to me that it drove me today to create similar opportunities for our engineering students, to experience something of the moment I had, which hopefully would make them addicted to the mastering of engineering in projects. The next brick is mentorship. Mentorship is an important brick in engineering education. This slide may look white to you, but it is the sum of all the other colors, where each color presents a mentor I had that played an important role in my life. If you look very carefully, you can see the images of Prof. J.D. van Wyk, the founder of our engineering faculty, Prof. Johan Pretorius, which I am honored to have here with us tonight, Prof. Antoine Malaba, Prof. Morgan Dundu, Prof. Andre Nel, which is here as well, whom I have privileged to have here tonight, for whom I received mentorship, especially during the management and academia in engineering education. After joining University of Johannesburg in 2005, I started my research work by creating the Unmanned Aerial Research Group. Unmanned aerial vehicles was not as developed as they are today. We concluded the first hydrogen fuel cell powered unmanned aerial vehicle flight in South Africa, and defined a project for the design and construction of a pure solar powered vehicle capable of flying self-sustained from Johannesburg to Cape Town. Two of these students in the image completed their master's degree, with the third completing his PhD, working in the United States as part of the International Space Station program. At the time, the air traffic laws in South Africa did not allow the use of unmanned aerial vehicles, and that prohibited many applications of these technologies. Our work in solar energy systems enabled multidisciplinary student teams to design and construct a pure solar-powered vehicle, which we participated successfully in the South African Solar Challenge. The aim of the Solar Challenge was to challenge engineering teams to design a solar-powered vehicle capable of traveling around South Africa from Johannesburg to Cape Town to Durban back to Johannesburg. This project exposed our students to the engineering skills obtained by other international universities that had been participating in these events for many years. During this project, I realized that engineering students from South Africa is for some reason not as active in participating in these type of events than international universities. We explored the world of alternative energy efficient vehicles by the entry of two hybrid energy-powered vehicles in the open class of the Solar Challenge. A project was launched which led to the design and construction of a hydrogen fuel cell-powered vehicle, the one on the left, and a high-speed gas turbine-powered vehicle by our teams of undergraduate and postgraduate students. Both vehicles participated successfully in driving right around the country and exposing our students to these alternative technologies. The engineering journey of these students participating in the construction of these alternative energy vehicles was captured in a reality television show of 13 episodes called Fuel Deal. Fuel Deal was broadcast 3 times in its entirety on DSTV Mindset Learn Channel 319. The series aimed to expose students to the world of engineering as the series followed the exploits in a reality television show of these students participating in these projects. The prohibitive cost of designing a solar-powered vehicle became hampering the competitive participation in this type of international competition, and it drove us to look for alternative options. When the invitation came to participate in the European Shell Eco Marathon event, I engaged with the event organizers and made a case that the event should be hosted in South Africa to allow not only South African universities, but also sub-Saharan universities to participate in the Shell Eco Marathon, which otherwise would not have been possible as a result of the prohibitively expensive shipping cost to take these vehicles to Europe. I refuse to accept that our students are of lesser ability and not capable of participating in international engineering competitions. I negotiated with Norman Koch, the Shell International French-based custodian of the event, and UJ successfully hosted the Shell Eco Marathon in South Africa until 2019, when COVID and a lack of Shell South Africa participation led us to stop the event in South Africa. The Shell Eco Marathon provided a much more affordable platform for engineering students to compete and push the technology to its limits. With their counterparts as other universities, the Shell Eco Marathon afforded our students the ability to integrate with chief executive officers of companies, make presentations directly in these companies, and some of these companies use this event as a means of a job interview for our students, where they assess their ability directly. This is a very proud moment for me when we handed over one of these Shell Eco Marathon vehicles to the University of Namibia. And shown in the picture is Professor Errol Tobias, the then Vice Chancellor of the University of Namibia, trying out the steering position in one of these vehicles. He commented afterwards, "I much rather prefer this than having a management meeting." One of our industrial partners, Schneider Electric, offered us the opportunity to make an impact in a very underprivileged community. The Isiboniso School is located in Orange Farm, not far from here, and is operated by an NGO. The school serves over 300 primary school learners who are not able to register in a South African school due to their lack of registration documents. The school are not connected to the electricity grid and would not be able to afford anyway the electricity cost. The undergraduate systems engineering class were presented with this problem, and with equipment donated by one of our sponsors, Schneider Electric, we designed and built a lighting solution for the school. Unfortunately, there were elements in the community who decided that they needed these solar panels much more than these children do. And after the panels were stolen the second time at gunpoint, the headmaster of the school requested us to remove these panels, as it poses a safety risk to the school and the security at the school. However, through this project, our students were exposed to some of the realities in South Africa in the environment we live in. The Nkuri stone crusher located in Guyana attracted the attention of the CEO of the Industrial Development Corporation, to whom we had a good relationship with. The crushers were run on electricity provided by an old diesel generator, and the request was for us to design a solar-powered solution that will at least make the crusher a lot more commercially viable. Our team of staff and students investigated the different options and found that the crusher is indeed powered by a dilapidated diesel generator. But not only that, the stone is cut from a nearby copy by a complete female workforce, for which the youngest one in the workforce was 50 years of age, ranging from 50 to 70 years plus. It is another example of our students of the social diversity and complexity in our country. Unfortunately, the sponsorship of the solution did not materialize, and the picture shows one of our team members explaining to the workforce as a suggested alternative to hacking societal impact. Arguably, all 17 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals can be embodied in this project. At the onset of the project, the village had no grid electricity, no connection to a sustainable potable water source, no cellular signal, and the primary school more than 5 kilometers away on a poorly maintained dirt road. You may ask, why didn't we choose a project closer to UJ? The answer for me lies in the words of a former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Johannesburg, Prof. Aaron Rensburg, who said, "Should UJ not solve problems that are difficult?" The village faced severe water shortage challenges, as potable water can only be obtained from a diesel-operated boil pump. Challenges with the diesel supply limited the residents to less than 15 liters of water per person for their household needs. With the help of our industrial sponsors, several student projects were conducted which exposed again our students to the world which many of them were unfamiliar with. They were not accustomed to this. Poverty, unfamiliar culture, different language, different social circumstances. The diesel pump was replaced with a solar-powered borehole pump, which now provides a sustainable daily supply of water to the community. Several research papers were concluded reflecting on the socio-technical problems faced by these marginal communities or marginalized communities such as Kokwani, of which is maybe one example in South Africa. The dynamics of conducting projects in an environment far away from the security of quick purchases, the comfort of air conditioning, well-equipped laboratories brought home the realities of engineering challenges many of our students will face as practicing engineers in the real world of South Africa and further abroad. These challenges presented by dark nights and limited security were alleviated with the help of, again, one of our industrial partners, Schneider Electric, who donated solar-powered streetlights, which was installed strategically throughout this village. These lights contain sophisticated energy management systems, specialized battery chemistries to which our students got exposed, and real-world solutions to the social and challenges in South Africa. Since this village was not connected to utility grid, Eskom power, these dwellings had no lighting in them except for those provided by fires, candle and stoves, paraffin lamps. Children therefore struggled to do homework. I just mentioned that they need to walk 7 kilometers to the primary school, some of the children 14 kilometers to the high school. And after returning at 4 o'clock from the school, they need to do their chores and do their studies at night. So these solar solutions at least provided a means for these children to study in their homes. Recognizing the opportunity to support the village to become more economically sustainable, we designed a pure solar-powered bakery. Numerous trips later, many of our students, an affordable, nutritious, fresh bread was available not only to the people in Kokwani, but also to the people living in the larger area. This bakery became the bread supplier to the area and provided employment for 14 bakers that got trained and operate in this bakery. This shows a proud moment that took place this year when the bakers trained and employed in this bakery was selling a loaf of bread to our Vice-Chancellor, Prof. Mpedi, during his visit to this project in the earlier part of this year. The engineering student teams, with the help of our industrial partners, erected an early childhood development facility in the form of a creche in Kokwani. And one of the biggest impacts, I think, is the installed television in that creche. It now presented the people and the children living there the first images of a world that they are not accustomed to. Many of them have never seen the ocean, have seen an aircraft, any of these things, which is now available to them through the world of television. A while after the television was installed, on arrival there, the children started greeting us with, "Hello, how are you?" instead of the usual vendor banter, which we could not understand at all. The remoteness of this village and the low-lying location meant that cellular connection does not exist in this village. The village was trapped in the first industrial revolution. Initial connectivity was established when our engineering student team installed a radio link on the nearby copy, allowing us basic remote monitoring of our equipment here in Johannesburg. In 2023, we provided this creche facility with Wi-Fi connectivity to a satellite internet provider. This moved the village from 1 IR to 4 IR. This photo on the right-hand side shows the first video call made from that village where we connected Prof. Mashao, Prof. Consolums, myself, and 2 of the villagers right there in the village making a video call. And we brought an impact to them. Since then, one of the people staying in that village became the local motor mechanic, purely by watching YouTube videos, and he's now fixing people's cars in that village. So the Department of Social Welfare in Limpopo offered us a mobile creche, or came with a mobile creche once a week to 30 preschool children from the Matatani village. After engagement with the local chief, the need for a more permanent facility was expressed. Again, our engineering team took up the challenge, we sprang into action, and a year later, with the help of the local people, our industrial sponsors, the University of Johannesburg, the Matatani creche is operational now as an early childhood development center with 3 registered teachers operating in that facility. You can see the image there from a slab to containers, the inside of the container, and this is the creche operating with children playing there. It's now a registered ECD facility. A collaborative effort between the students and staff teams from the faculties of engineering and health sciences are in the process of creating a solar-powered telemedicine facility or a clinic enabled also by satellite internet, where people will come and get their consultations, and the satellite link will provide internet images here to the home faculty where consultations can then be conducted, serving the broader community of Kokwani, Matatani, and Mbodi. Water supply still remains an issue in the drought-stricken areas of northern Limpopo. Student teams have installed this solar boil pump, which now provides water to the community at Mbodi. There's extreme drought. It is their only supply of water currently in the whole village. So you can see there some members of the community taking turns also sleeping next to these facilities to protect them from theft and vandalism, because they realize the importance of protecting these infrastructure. The dedication of these school learners, who has to walk in many instances 14 kilometers to a high school, is impressive. Through again the partnership of the Jewish Board of Deputies, a learner center equipped with computers, satellite internet was established at the Hanyani local high school, which serves the broader Kokwani community. This photo again shows our Vice Chancellor, Prof. Mpedi, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Khan, with the Chief Headmaster and some of the teachers from the high school at the learner center. The success of the Kokwani project awakened the addiction to serve in our students, as I had hoped through this experience that I got from my career in engineering. The Letaba Hospital in Tsenin Occupational Therapy Department made us aware of the challenges faced by patients suffering from cerebral palsy and their caregivers, especially in these rural areas. To alleviate the problem, the occupational therapists at the hospital manufacture seating solutions for these patients from cardboard and paper mache. We arranged for members from our student engineering societies of the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers and the South African Institute of Mechanical Engineers and the student chapter of the Engineering Council of South Africa to visit the occupational therapy department to obtain first-hand experience of the challenge faced in rural areas for these patients. A waiting list of 20 chairs with only 2 available is the current reality, with commercial available CP chairs costing upwards from about 12,000 Rand each. This problem presents an ideal solution or situation for applying the skills of our engineering students to solve real-world problems, and in doing so, making a huge societal impact. The problem was posed to our students and student teams consisting of postgraduate students as well as undergraduate students in our department. The U-Juggy was born. Students designed a variety of solutions from adapted supermarket trolleys to PVC pipe trolleys and other clever materials. Some of the student designs were then taken to the occupational therapy department at the Letaba Hospital for evaluation. It very quickly became very clear that we did not fully understand the problem. There were technical and social issues at play which we did not understand. Again, another example where the outside laboratory is a lot more valuable than the inside laboratory. It is my view that we deprive our students a real learning opportunity if we only let them experience simplified laboratory type problems. They have to learn to prepare and face real-world technical societal challenges. At UJ, the pass value is considered 50%. 50% project would never work. 50% building would never be acceptable. The more we grappled with the problem, the more the merits of the project became apparent. The UJuggy was judged as one of the top 3 projects in the Gauteng Premier's Disability Awards. Shown in the leftmost image is UJuggy version 1, followed by a completed foldable UJuggy version 2, which was handed over to the Occupational Therapy Department at Letaba Hospital earlier this year. These mobile buggies, can be self-made with very basic tools for less than 1,500 Rand. This project whetted our students' appetite for projects that can make a difference in somebody's life. Through our work on the UJuggy project, we were connected to the Occupational Therapy Department at the Charlotte Matseki Academic Hospital just down the road. And as a result of neglect after the COVID lockdown and other challenges faced by the department, their therapy garden was in a badly dilapidated state, as shown in these images. Again, we presented this problem to our engineering student societies, and an overwhelming response for them to help made it clear to us that our students want to use their skills to do projects where they can make a real difference. The teams assembled early one Saturday morning, revamped the area by painting, cleaning, and installing new planter boxes, as you can see here on the image on the left. And the gardens is now again operational as a therapy area at the hospital. Connecting one of these bricks led to the attachment of another brick. Our engagement with the Occupational Therapy Department at Charlotte Matseki Hospital was an excellent opportunity for our undergraduate engineering student development and the assessment of the Engineering Council of South Africa's graduate attribute 8, which deals with teamwork in a multidisciplinary environment as part of the accreditation of our curriculum. Undergraduate students from the Systems Engineering and Design class were placed in teams, with each team collaborating with an occupational therapist from one of 7 hospitals in our region. The purpose for each of these teams was to develop and improve assistive devices used in these departments. The teams went through the first prototyping stage, developed a wheelchair training ramp, assistive alternative communication device, memory development game, patient call system, waiting room bench, and a very successful finger joint goniometer. These devices are now further developed and in production to be delivered to these occupational therapy departments. During our contact again with the Charlotte Matseki Academic Hospital, we were made aware of their desperate need for waiting room benches. I don't know if some of you may have seen the incident that was reported on the news a while ago of a video that was shot at one of these hospitals of an elderly woman crawling on the floor because of a lack of wheelchairs and seating devices. Through Prof Solom's collaboration with an industrial partner, DHL, old used pallets were made available to us. The student engineering societies and volunteering students repurposed these otherwise wasteful pallets into waiting room benches for deployment in the hospital. We are imminently going to launch an event where we will release these or deliver these benches to the hospital. The success of Kokwani as a classroom has led us to branch out into other spaces for student teaching and learning. As one of the professionals managing the Center of Applied Information Processing in the department, which hosts the Telkom Center of Excellence, the utilization of low-cost IoT sensors for environmental monitoring and predictive and preventative maintenance has become another key area of focus. Along with other members of the department and faculty, we are in collaboration with SIGFAS South Africa and South African National Parks. Undergraduate and postgraduate students join us on trips to the Kruger National Park, where we are working on master's and PhD projects in research, which spans the utilization of low-cost sensors for environmental monitoring and also assist in plant and health monitoring projects, including the protection of wild dogs and other wild animals. Health monitoring of radio repeaters in the national park for predictive and preventative maintenance to equipment situated in very harsh rural outlying areas, which can drastically reduce maintenance and equipment cost. Low-cost IoT sensors to instrument animal trapping cages, assistance in the improvement and testing of animal tracking tags. So the image on the left shows us the team making radio frequency signal attenuation measurements in the outdoor classroom of the Kruger National Park. Only a very few have this privileged classroom. Through these projects, students and staff are connecting opportunities with various organizations and industries. Image on the left shows us taking measurements in the veld. The image on the right is where we investigate the animal trapping cages to instrument them to give an indication when an animal is successfully trapped in these cages. So the work done in the Kruger National Park exposed us to various specific problems the conservationists face, which is the design and manufacture of an extremely small, non-intrusive wild animal tracking tag. The image on the left shows some of our team members with a wild dog being collared, and the image on the right shows an ear tag that's being now developed. So these ear tags, the smaller the device, the bigger the problems. Through this project, students and staff were introduced to collaboration with the Max Planck Institute in Germany, a leading institute in the domain of animal behavior tracking and studies. So imagine a device weighing less than 20 grams, which is about the size of these gate remotes we use, smaller than a postage stamp, sending information over a distance from more than Johannesburg to Kroonstad, 200 kilometers. This project allows our students another real-world opportunity in a very privileged environment. The societal impact of these projects will directly influence whether our grandchildren will be able to see some of these wild animals still in the wild. The image there in the bottom right-hand corner of the bottle wine cork, that was some way of me trying to suggest the size of these tags to get us a feel. It's about this big, 20 by 30 millimeters, about the size of a wine bottle cork. Social technical systems are accompanied by social technical challenges and problems. Procurement, travel arrangements, technical equipment, and social community structures all have their own uniquenesses, bringing challenges. The first image is me late at night sitting on the stoep in Skukuza at the research house trying to make things work. The next image shows us contemplating our options and trying to get help from wherever we can at the Isobeniso school. Stuff falling from trailers, we've had it all. The final picture is not a Seance meeting. It shows us trying to look in a dark environment for the faint glow of one of the light-emitting diodes on one of these animal tracking tags. The next building block or brick in our journey is support. I have to thank my wife, Ilani, that's here, for supporting me in this journey. We eventually got used to all the tables in my house being full of little gadgets and goetertjies and wires and things. My eldest daughter, Annika, an occupational therapist. My youngest, the final year medical student at Wits. The last image shows my parents and parents-in-law. My father, who is unfortunately not here tonight, he left school at 16, started work on the railroad. He obtained his PhD 1 year before me. The team on the veld, I have to introduce my colleagues and thank them, who are conducting this research work with me. I've included the Disney character as an avatar for each one of them to help introduce the role these colleagues play. Firstly, I have to recognize the tremendous contribution of Prof. Sune van Solms. Prof. Sune joined UJ in 2014 and jumped into these projects boot and all without hesitation. She has also been instrumental in rebooting my industrial mindset to an academic mindset. She certainly has played a significant mentor in my life, and without this journey would not have been possible. Thank you, Prof. Dr. Arnold de Beer, who started this engineering journey at the same time as I did. We sat in the same lab during our master's studies here at the University of RAU in those days. And our paths again crossed in the same company later in life. And again, we are back in the same company, institution, working together as colleagues now on some of these projects. Professor Charlie Harley, who recently joined the project team, brings the order of logic of a mathematician with the heart of a caring individual. I have to recognize Mr. Corne Kiefer in the bottom right, who has been with us in many of these projects, and he will join us again also in the launch of the Kokwani project. I also have to acknowledge the role the university management has played and supported in this journey. Vice Chancellor Prof. Mpedi, who created the vision for 4IR projects for societal impact. Professor Khan, who took time out of their busy schedules and supported our projects by visiting them. Prof. Khan now twice, and going for the third time in October. These 10 years, many students, including undergraduate, master's, PhD students from various departments, faculties, including engineering, science, health sciences, business, art, design, have joined in this classroom. Students are involved in co-creating solutions with the community while engaging with industry. They were required to design, build, and use a range of tools, techniques, skills to solve real-world problems in their work environment. These projects provide our students with exposure to the world of with people speaking different languages, different cultures, living in a different environment, and come from completely different environment than their own. So these projects exposed our students to real world, taught them practical skills, and showed them the practical application of their engineering knowledge that cannot be practiced purely in a university laboratory. These projects also taught our students that 50% is not good enough. A 50% bakery cannot produce bread. A 50% borehole cannot produce water. 50% is not good enough if you are dealing with the real world and you are dealing with people. From these projects, we have produced students who take pride in their work, who are trustworthy, professional, and independent thinkers. We produce students who understand the impact of engineering activity and who focus on technical excellence, but also understand societal and ethical implications of their work. Therefore, it's no surprise that many of these graduates have become very successful professional engineers working in large projects in industry. Yesterday, I walked in front of these students. Today, I walk next to them. Tomorrow, I will walk behind them. They will be leading us. A few new highlights, which was added after this presentation. We're showing there on the left-hand side the installation of solar lights at the Hanyani High School. Children studying there at night because they have a source of light. The next image shows children sitting on the stoop of the creche in Kokwani. Again, there's lights, they're doing their homework, and now with internet. The ball pump, as you see there, is what we are replacing, and you can see in the last image on the right-hand side the amazing difference that water to these communities can make with all these carrying cans that they collect, and that's the ball we installed recently this year. I often ponder why it took me so long to become eligible, become a full professor. Possible reasons might be that it is difficult. It might be my own incompetence, maybe the fact that I got involved in many other things. Whatever the reason, I console myself that although I did not have a prolific amount of journal publications in the library, I have directly influenced the lives of more than 1,000 engineers in South Africa, CP patients and other occupational therapy patients, and provided countless drinks of water to many marginalized people. Through these projects, as I lead my students to construct their own 6 bricks journey. I thank you.
Good evening, Vice-Chancellor Functionary Prof. Sarah Gravett, Executive Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment, Prof. Daniel Mashao, honored guests, family of Professor Meyer, colleagues, students, and not least the University of Johannesburg's latest inductee to the professorate, Professor Johan Meyer. I'm especially honored to be here responding to a Professorial Inauguration presentation, quite unlike any other I have had the privilege of attending over the past 45 years. But I should not be surprised, having literally seen Prof. Johan Meyer, and from here on in, I am going to return to Johan, because that is how I came to know him. A young undergraduate rise to the professorate. I'm struck by how uncommon his career at this university has been. We are indeed the fortunate ones that you saw yourself through to pick one of the lesser engineering faculties in South Africa in the 1980s as your future alma mater. So Johan started his presentation with Lego blocks. I'm a fan. And the number of permutations, and I was surprised at the number, to be honest, but I'm not surprised at the number of ways that any career, but especially an academic one, can develop. Because of the building blocks of education, scholarship, experience, mentorship, practice, and support, a career can be virtually unlimited by any set of possibilities. Such an almost infinite variety is perhaps the reason why the academe often draws the brightest, notwithstanding its manifest disincentives. And so rather than go with breadth, which Johan has and has demonstrated tonight in spades, I fully intend to only discuss one aspect, and the manner in which Johan is an exemplar. If I concentrate on not any one of the multitudes of things you have spoken about tonight, forgive me, but I would like to do the meta thing. What overarching theme has struck a chord with me? Teaching and learning, obviously. Research, seen as the primary the agendas of universities, albeit perhaps indirectly, generally become recognized because of the achievements in research or perhaps third-stream income. Research is seen as the pinnacle of achievement and is lauded often and loudly. We keep score of A-rated researchers, research incomes generated, highlighted, cited publications, and postgraduate students delivered. Sometimes we even boast about excellence in teaching and learning, notwithstanding comments from students in their classes. And this has accorded some accolades, but perhaps more sedately. But not very often do we stand up for that fourth leg that we regularly mention as part of our mission at occasions such as these. The community engagement or outreach activities are there, but not often enough highlighted. So it is a particular pleasure for me to recognize and respond to the presentation by Johan that so clearly demonstrates his abiding interest in and contributions to the general community as firstly a practicing engineer, and secondly as a mentor and inspiration to students and staff that he comes into contact with daily. If we measure a man by his deeds, not necessarily his words, something deeply Kipling-esque and of a colonial background, I hesitate to say, then the talk we have just been so fortunate to listen to echoes with words and images, not to say emotions, not commonly associated with engineers, at least so my wife tells me, daily. Words like empathy, caring, willingness to become involved, awareness of need, and an interest outside our own small spaces. In Isaiah 6 verse 8, God says, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Servantship is a foundational principle of the Christian and almost all faiths. More honored in its absence, perhaps, than in fact, though. But I must hasten to note that servantship is not the normal route to the professorate, and that we are honoring an engineering academic who is professing for his community engagement involving the most vulnerable in our society, so deeply divided, is, I believe, a testament to the man and his character. Our society and world needs reminding in an era that is so self-absorbed and so self-promoting that no man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. John Donne, in his Devotions, which is the initial source for the quote, was warning the 13th century and today of the dangers of apathy and individualism when it denudes us of our humanity. A humanity we sometimes ignore in South Africa, but should be reminded of more often. I hesitated when writing this response about how to continue. Modern society wants its heroes, don't we all? My children and grandchildren pester me about which of the MCU band I felt was most powerful. I had to actually ask what that meant the first time. Never heard of the MCU. and of other self-professed heroes and role models. Ranking superpowers seems meaningless when the heroes I think of showed little interest in being much more than simply good or helping, or pick your own particular adjective for your particular hero. By the way, is Taylor Swift really so important I had to ask my sons and daughters? And why would her supporting any particular American presidential candidate actually make the discussion at our dinner table? Maybe Gen Z needs easily recognizable, clearly packaged, and digestible heroes. That is how we should be recognizing them according to them. I hesitated because we as a society and world are drifting away from the heroic into an era that appears to be brand name dominated, the cutting insult era, the overtly and covertly marketed, and the influencer and influenced social dance. Nevertheless, let me press on. When President Obama, on his visit to South Africa in 2013, spoke in Soweto and delivered a powerful speech commemorating President Nelson Mandela, he said, and I quote, "Mandela understood the ties that bind the human spirit. There is a word in South Africa, Ubuntu, that describes his greatest gift, his recognition that we are all bound together in ways that can be invisible to the eye, that there is a oneness to humanity, that we achieve ourselves by sharing ourselves with others and caring for those around us. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, to give the full Zulu phrase, perhaps too much of a mouthful for an American president. We are persons, not in our own right, but because we are part of the people around us. This expresses a philosophy that requires us not to just acknowledge our common humanity, but to act on it. Too often we simply echo the words and then move on, trusting that someone, somewhere in the crowd, will perhaps act. The response of Isaiah, "Send me," seems distinctly absent today. If we were to ask the children of Isiboniso School in Orange Farm, or the Gwakani villages in Venda, or the children in the Matatani Early Childhood Development Creche, or the ladies not needing to fetch water at a distance because of the Mbodi solar borehole, or the children in an occupational therapy center at Charlotte Maxeke Hospital, or others I'm sure we have not heard of tonight, did some engineers under the leadership of Johan make a difference in your life? I think there would be a resounding yes echoing around the room, perhaps deafening. I'm sorry that I cannot have them act as co-respondents tonight. Their thanks would mean so much more than my words. Eloquence cannot and should not take the place of heartfelt gratitude ever. Johan, I'm about to mangle Apostle Paul writing to Timothy. In the same way, good deeds are obvious, and even those that are not obvious cannot remain hidden forever. And so your deeds at the right moment resulted in this evening. Good deeds of their own reward seems trite, but apropos this evening. The writer of the letter to the Hebrews speaks of a cloud of witnesses surrounding us. Perhaps we need to allow them to speak into a reverent silence tonight. For the rest of us, those that stand and watch, I would like to remind you of the desiderata. But let life not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Recognizing the heroic can happen in the quietest and most unlikely of places if we look for it with the right lens. Johan, may your chosen path repay your convictions and dedication long after you've had to retire at some point in the far distant future. May your new prominence inspire those that walk with you to aspire to also change the society we live in. May the joy that I see in the photos of your presentation on the faces of those whose lives you have changed, be your daily reward. Welcome to the Professorate. Nkosi Sikilela, Africa.
Please join us. Thank you. Right.
Good.
Yes, indeed.
Congratulations.
Prof. Johan, congratulations. And it was indeed a privilege to be part of your journey tonight. And I would be very surprised if there's anybody in this room or online who were not touched deeply about what you presented to us. I also indicated to Prof. Johan earlier this evening that I'm also a Lego fan. So the 6 blocks immediately told me something important is going to happen. And I really loved what you did, Prof. Johan, bringing the 6 blocks and linking them to your experience as academic and also what you want your students to experience. The education, experience, mentorship, scholarship, practice, support. And any academic can attest that you need all of that to become a full-fledged academic that can make a difference in the world. And that is what we ultimately want. I really loved many things that you said. At working with real world problems, it's not a direct quote, it's more or less what you said, in the warm, chaotic world of in real life. And that is what you demonstrated to us tonight, that it is possible to do that. We saw tonight also the ripple effect that a project can have if you have colleagues, students, who see the importance of the work that they are doing, who understand that you can make impact in a small way where you are, but this impact actually will have a ripple effect because these students take what they've learned into the bigger world. So it's if one has a vision, and we saw your vision tonight of problem-based, problem-focused learning, and coupled with serving the community. I think we saw the results of that tonight. So I'm looking forward next week to visit Kwakane village. And I was told that that bakery bakes the best Chelsea buns in the country. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. Prof. Johan, what I saw tonight was your deep love for your work, what you do, and your love for students. And ultimately, that you really take societal impact seriously, not only intellectually, but also with your whole being. And I can just applaud that. I love the work of the author Bell Hooks, and she wrote beautifully about academia and the impact that academia can have on students' life. And I can give many quotes from one of her books, but what I really found very suitable for tonight is when she says, when our lived experience of theorizing is fundamentally linked to the process of self-recovery, of collective liberation, and that's what one does with your students if you work in the way that you did, no gap exists between theory and practice. Indeed, what such experience makes more evident is the bond between the two that ultimately reciprocal process wherein one enables the other. And we saw that tonight in your presentation. Again, a warm word of congratulations, Prof. Johan, and we are looking forward to the many wonderful projects that will follow. Thank you. And so, colleagues, it's a pleasure to have you all here tonight, and the family, again, congratulations to you all. And you are invited to have some refreshments. Thank you. Oh, and I must say also, Prof. Andre, it was a beautiful response. Must also acknowledge that it was indeed. Thank you.